Hi everyone, welcome to the Week in Technology. As you can see, I'm missing my big turban guy on the left. We actually have our first guest for Week in Technology. This is Stephen Chia. He's the president of TEAM, which is the Technopreneurs Association of Malaysia. He'll be here to mainly talk about the stimulus package, the recent RM60 billion to be disbursed over 2 years. And as usual, we're going to start with what's on our front page cover. This is InnoBio. It's a subsidiary of the Ministry of Finance. They do biomanufacturing for cell cultures for preclinical drugs. So it's been a long 8 years for Nazli, the CEO, and they're just coming out with from day one they've come up with strategy for revenue. So from day one they've been geared towards revenue instead of for science. So this is something that's commercialization. It's very big. So check it out. It's on our cover. Next, we actually would like to make a correction. I know that we introduced the book Go for Broke like in our first episode, but we failed to mention that this was actually published by TEAM. And this book, which has 21 entrepreneurs in Malaysia, it's a very good buy. And the president of TEAM himself is here to for all correction. But yeah, what was the inspiration for this book?
Well, actually, we wrote Go for Broke. Basically, is to highlight the Malaysian entrepreneurs. The advantage of most business books is that it would tell about the successful entrepreneurs. For us, this one, we want to feature entrepreneurs both big and small. So basically, it tells a lot about the Malaysian entrepreneurs and their journey. So this book actually, we selected 21 entrepreneurs and actually have the author to talk with them and to really tell their story about their entrepreneurial journey. Yeah.
It's a very easy read. It's very simple. The stories are very short. But it definitely packs a punch. So we'll go on to the main topic for the show, which is the recent stimulus package was announced about RM60 billion to be disbursed for the next 2 years by our Deputy Prime Minister. It's based on 4 thrusts. Just to give an overview, it's based on 4 thrusts, which is the first one is to reduce unemployment, the second one is to ease the burden of the people, the third is to assist the private sector, and the last one is to build capacity for the future. Now, a lot of people have been saying that there aren't enough goodies for the man on the street. A lot of the allocation actually goes for building capacity and assisting with the private sector. So, Stephen, what do you think of this? Is this a good thing? I think they have probably at most about 15 billion out of the 60, which is a small sum, for the man on the streets,
Well, for the entrepreneurs, I think there is not a direct benefit that we see, but you see more of maybe the stimulus package, more of an indirect for the entrepreneur. Like for instance, one of the examples would be like for instance the guarantee for the loans. That's something that for the technopreneurs or the smaller companies, mainly the area would be that the guarantee will help the businesses or the entrepreneurs, but not a direct benefit. There are other things that are in the package that to grow certain sectors. So it depends on, like for instance, even in the funding allocation for the broadband and also for the MOSTI, which is the Ministry of Science and Technology. That actually depends on how the government spend in which sectors of the economy. So basically, that there's no direct benefit, but there's more of an indirect. So it depends how that money is allocated and spent. I believe actually the entrepreneurs, what they need will be maybe perhaps assistance in terms of, let's say, funding. It can even be project-based financing. Like for instance, one of the challenges that most IT entrepreneurs, especially in Malaysia, or maybe some around the region also, is that when they are, let's say, have a project, whether it be 100,000 project or even a $1 million project, but when they go up to a bank, what does IT company have is intellectual property. They don't have, let's say, a property or even an office or hard assets.
Physical,
so when they go to the financial institutions to borrow money, or for working capital, one of the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs or IT entrepreneurs is they only have intellectual property. Yeah. So basically, the banks do not look at that as a collateral for whatever they're doing. Like for instance, if a small company
it's not something that's bankable.
Exactly. If they have a project from, let's say, the government, their biggest challenge is actually now, let's say they have a $200,000 project. Now they're having to raise, let's say, 80, 100,000 to execute the project. When they go to a bank or financial institution, their biggest challenge is actually to find a financial institute that believe in them to execute the job and to give them the working capital. Without that working capital, essentially they have a contract that cannot be executed. So basically that's the challenge.
All right. So well, I think there's a 5 billion working capital guarantee scheme that's been announced in the part of this as part of the stimulus package. So it's still we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Also, MOSTI has an allocation of 192 million out of the 60 billion. And it might seem small, but actually, Khazanah is going to invest, I think, about 3 billion with telecom for infrastructure. So that's on top of it. And also, I think MCMC is also going to invest another 2.4 billion in rural areas. So do you think that this amount is a little bit too small from the 60 billion for ICT?
Well, for most entrepreneurs who are, let's say, small to mid-size, it's a lot of money.
All right.
However, like for instance, the allocation for broadband and MCMC, that's actually for the telco and ISP, internet service providers, and also people in the ecosystem of the telco. There is a whole world out there for the IT people in other sectors, like for instance, somebody doing, let's say, call centers and things like that. I think where the impact of such funding for the entrepreneurs would be that if, let's say, this money is actually spent, let's say, for instance, to buy Malaysian, not choosing all of it as a foreign product, maybe. Some of them, if the local company is able to do it, why not? After all, the local company probably is able to do it with a much maybe cheaper resources, and that will help them directly. And definitely, yeah, rather than having sent out overseas. Yeah.
What other from team's perspective, what are the things that you feel that could be done better in the stimulus package, or if you had a certain allocation, what would be best?
We've always
for
been within team. We have always been pushing for. There is already sufficient funding in the ecosystem for both at MDEC in Cyberjaya and also for Cradle for pre-seed funding. We've always been pushing that the government needs to look at one other aspect, which is things like seed funding. That means funding the companies that are already started maybe 2 or 3 years already. Now they need money to grow. Yeah, or mid-sized companies where, like for instance, one of the companies that are being featured is Info Valley. It's also the entrepreneurs featured in the book also. Yeah. They need to grow, let's say, out of Malaysia into the region. So seed funding will help them propel them forward. If there is allocation for seed funding for the entrepreneurs in Malaysia, I think across the board, meaning in all sectors of the IT, that will really help the IT to grow. And if there's also an equal push for the government spending to encourage local entrepreneurs, has alternative products rather than just purely buying. So that means that the government really have to look at and start changing the mindset of how they do tendering and how they select vendors for their government procurement systems, and also even within the private sector, like large companies, when they are purchasing IT systems, both hardware and software, the strength will be that if, let's say, a certain portion can be handled by local companies, small mid-sized companies, in fact, they might end up doing a better job.
Yeah, that's true. If you don't try, you never know.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's how small companies grow into larger companies. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I think that's certainly something that local ICT players have been talking about, trying to get a sort of a, when they have equal merits, just to get a level playing field. We're running out of time. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you to Stephen for being our first guest. Hopefully he'll come back again. All right then, that's it. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.